Hello friends, good afternoon. This is Professor Rajbir Sharma, retired from University of Delhi and at present the fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. I shall be talking to you on Decentralized Planning and District Planning Committee today and would divide the discussion into three parts. Part 1 will be concerned with the conceptualization of district planning and decentralized planning. The second aspect would be what were the objectives behind decentralized planning and constitution of the District Planning Committee. The District Planning Committee, in fact, has been constitutionalized in India for the first time. We have a constitutional body to concern itself with rural and urban development planning, which is known as District Planning Committee under 74th Amendment of the Constitution. Then we will try to know as to how is it composed and what is the status of the District Planning Committee today in India. Well friends, when we talk of the concept of decentralized planning, let me begin by saying that India is a robust democracy which presupposes the involvement of the people, and it is a government for the people, and if I borrow from Lincoln, of the people and by the people, which means that the people are at the center of governance and development. The major concern of the government in India has been to care for the needs of the people and remold the development policies in accordance with the felt needs of the people. The second very important aspect is regarding the meaning or concept of decentralized planning. In fact, after independence, India opted for a centralized planning system, which means that the government at the center or at the states were assigned the duty and responsibility to identify the priorities, to decide and formulate the plans and the programs for development of the people, with in fact means that it was an approach based on top-down kind of an approach, which means that the decisions regarding the plan and the programs and priorities were taken at the top, and the implementation was handed over downwards. In other words, you can say that centralized planning was characterized by some kind of a satellite approach to the macro and micro understanding of the social needs. Or in other words, you can say that it was a photograph approach. You proceeded on that kind of. It was also an approach, centralized planning system was based on some kind of technicalities, the data collection, data approach, and provide solutions. However, it was realized right from the beginning that until unless people are engaged in the planning process, right at that level where the planning has to deliver its aims and objectives, planning objectives will not be met. It was in this perspective that decentralized planning was conceived, which means planning from below, or you can also say bottom-up approach to planning, where the people will be involved in the formulation and also in the implementation of the programs, plans, and priorities. The idea was why decentralized planning was adopted. In fact, right from 1952 till the 74th Amendment of the Constitution, this aspect of planning was almost underlined by the policymakers, by the politicians, and also by the development experts, that India is a vast kind of country, and this vast country has so many kind of diversities, imbalances also, and therefore the needs of every society and every region were not similar. Or you can say that one size fits all principle was questioned insofar as the development was concerned. And therefore, centralized planning was conceived as a way to achieve the kind of sustainable, efficient development administration, effective development administration, or it was expected that if the people will be involved in decision making regarding the development, there shall emerge the sense of ownership in the people, and therefore implementation would be more effective and efficient. It was also felt that felt needs of the society, as I said earlier, are different from one region to another region, and sometimes even within the same state, one region may have different kind of needs. So felt needs could be taken into consideration, will be taken into account while preparing the development policies and programs. And at the same time, the delivery also of those schemes, which shall be prepared at grassroots level, the village level, or the block level, or the district level, will be responsive planning and responsive administration. So planning from below, or grassroots planning, was conceived as a form of decentralized planning. Friends, beginning with the community development program, as I said, the first 5-year plan, the second 5-year plan, and right up to the 8th, 9th, and 10th 5-year plan, they all insisted that there must be some kind of decentralized planning when people at the grassroots are engaged. Secondly, all these plans insisted that the cost reduction of development, cost-effective development, is possible only through decentralized planning. Thirdly, it was argued that the leakages of funds, or what we call generally in very simple terms, the wastage of resources on the way to delivery, or corruption, and again could be met by decentralized planning. The people will themselves try to mobilize and utilize their own local resources, and therefore the kind of funding of the plan also would be easier through the involvement of the local people. So the problems of natural resources, the physical resources, the economic resources could be better met if decentralized planning, or what you call the planning from village to the block to the district and to the state, takes place. It was in this context that various plans, in fact, did make efforts. And it was also various committees, like, beginning from Balwant Rai Mehta committee, who believed that rural development cannot be effective and possible in the right sense of the term without the involvement of the people, and therefore a mechanism should be created, which he suggested, the Panchayati Raj system, 3-tier Panchayati Raj system, suggested by Balwant Rai Mehta committee, as a mechanism for people's participation in the rural development process. And thereafter also, in 1969 also, it was insisted that people should be involved in the preparation of the plans at the grassroots level. In 1977 and 78, two major developments took place. One committee on block level planning, M.L. Dantwala committee was appointed, and then Ashok Mehta committee was also appointed in 1978. And both these institutions, in fact, came to the conclusion that the grassroots level institutions, the democratic decentralization, must be made more effective and more real. And therefore, they insisted that the Panchayati Raj institutions should be given, more power, or in fact, Ashok Mehta committee suggested that there should be strengthening of the Panchayati Raj system, and this renewed or revived Panchayati Raj institutions shall serve as the institutions of development and progress in the country. It will also assist in involving the people in decision making. Thereafter, if we come further on, then there was a C.H. Hanmanta Rao committee that made a report in 1985 saying that district planning committee, in fact, district planning machinery should be strengthened, and there should be more and more decentralization of the planning process, right from the nation to the state to the district and to the levels below. Then there was the committee on administrative arrangements on rural development, which is popularly known as CARD, or it is also popularly known as GVK Rao committee. That also made a very specific recommendation regarding decentralized planning in India, and said that in order to utilize the locally available resources, it was necessary that planning should be decentralized. Even the Sarkaria Commission report, which was basically related with center-state relations, that also underlined the need for decentralized planning at the grassroots level. Well, after that, if you come across the fact that there was a common consensus, or you can say it was a common agreement at the level of the politicians and also the development experts, the policymakers, the administrators, that we must take some concrete steps to execute the concept and the process of decentralized planning. It was with this background that we can say that 73rd and 74th Amendment in the Constitution were executed, were enacted. And 73rd, of course, while talked about the democratic decentralization at the rural level, the 74th Amendment was concerned with democratic decentralization at the urban level. So the powers must be decentralized more to the Panchayati Raj institutions and also the municipalities in the country. But the most important and most significant change that was brought was to institutionalize decentralized planning, what we call constitutionalized decentralized planning, because even the Planning Commission, which came into existence by an executive order, that was not a constitutional organ for planning, meaning there is no reference to the Planning Commission in the Constitution of India. But for the first time, the 74th Amendment of the Constitution, Article 243(d), that provided for the creation of a constitutional machinery for district planning, which we call District Planning Committee. And if we go through this Article 243(d), then we will come across the fact as to what in fact should be the composition, and not exactly the size of the District Planning Committee, but what should be the basic idea of the composition of the District Planning Committee. And it was envisaged that whatever is the size of the District Planning Committee to be decided by the law of the state legislature. At least a 4/5 of the members shall be elected by and from amongst the members of the Jila Panchayat, and this means that 4/5 will be the members from amongst the elected members of the Jila Panchayat, and the remaining 1/5, that is around 20%, shall be the members to be nominated maybe or by any other form from the state government. Or state government was to decide, the state legislature was to decide as to how these 20% of the members will be nominated to this body. Besides the fact, even the chairperson was to be decided as to who shall be the chairperson of the District Planning Committee. That also would be decided by the law of the state legislature. At the same time, District Planning Committee was in fact visualized as a body which will consolidate the plans prepared by the Panchayati Raj institutions, right, beginning from the Gram Panchayat to the Panchayat Samiti to the Jila Panchayat, and also the plans prepared by the municipalities. In fact, the only thing which the District Planning Committee was supposed to keep in mind was that when the draft plan was to be prepared by the District Planning Committee, they must keep in regard, they must take into consideration some facts, some factors. One, that the District Planning Committee must in fact take into account the kind of the needs of both the rural as well as the urban areas. And while preparing this, consolidating and preparing this draft plan, the care would be taken of the resources of both the rural as well as the urban areas, and it will also take into account the fact that when the three factors must be basically taken into consideration. One, the infrastructure; two, the environmental factors; and three, the other resources. So therefore, a proper balance and coordination between the rural and urban needs for development and also the availability of resources, the priorities that has to be set, they can be broadly taken up. There is not an issue. But the basic focus of the priority identification should be guided by these three major factors, that is the resources, the infrastructure, and the environment. In fact, the social and economic justice has to be the guiding force behind the planning at the district level. So therefore, the functions, what shall be the functions of the district planning committee, that also shall be broadly decided by the state law, but at the same time the issues of socio-economic development must be guided by these three factors. So broadly, when we come to the implementation aspect, the implementation in fact suggests as to how far we have gone from here. 74th Amendment came into existence into 1993. 1992 it was enacted. But what steps the state governments have really taken and what kind of models have emerged after this district planning committee was provided in the constitution. If we go through various state of panchayats in India, we will find that most of the states have really taken to the constitution of the district planning committees, but there are different models. One model is where the district planning committee has been constituted, but the chairman of the district planning committee has been the chairman of the district panchayat or Jilla Parishad, whereas in some other states it is the district collector which has been made the chairman of the district planning committee, or in some other states the minister in charge of the district also has been made the chairman of the district planning committee. Meaning broadly there are three models that have emerged over a period of time insofar as the chairman of the committee is concerned. At the same time, there has also been an instruction that when the composition will be made by the state law, the consultation with the institutions also can be provided and notified as by the governor of that state. Now friends, if we look at that status, we will find that though the committees have been constituted, but there is no uniformity of models. In fact, it was not expected also that there shall be complete uniformity insofar as the organization of these district planning committees is concerned. But at the same time, we will have to take into account that it would be better if the position about the technical experts is also made very clear as to what kind of, where from these technical expertise will be drawn. In other words, we can say that conceptually, organizationally, and in terms of objectives, there is an agreement almost all across the country that we need decentralized planning and that district planning committees need to be organized without any kind of ifs and buts. There is no debate, in fact, on the utility of decentralized planning and district planning committee in India.